Hello, welcome back. As always, thank you for tuning in and for your dedication and your commitment to your spirituality. hmm Yeah, on behalf of every single living thing without exception, thank you for that. Most of them won't bother to thank you for that, as we all know. Who cares? It's the highest and best offering you could ever give anyone, anywhere, and you know that's true. So, wherever you find yourself in the world, whatever your station in life is, whatever your age is, your gender, your background, your social status or occupation, whatever your spiritual background is, thank you for being here. This course is for everybody, literally. So, welcome. Let's talk today about what our inner teacher, the Holy Spirit, needs from us, asks of us here on the path. And it may seem to us as we go through daily life, doing life in a manner of speaking, or should we say, doing what passes for our lives, whatever that entails. It can seem that we're being asked for a whole awful lot, and that awakening, call it enlightenment, liberation, realizing God, knowing yourself, go there. Uh, that can seem a long, long ways off. It can even seem like it's so tall an order that it's impossible and that you'll never reach it. Can you relate to that? We all have that experience on the path where we're just so bogged down in our drama. I mean, really, in the day-to-day stuff that we call our lives, that it seems like this is a mythical state that's completely unattainable, and it's so far off as to be pretty much impossible, and we may as well go back to doing what we were before when we were horribly miserable, by the way. Let's remind ourselves of that and sought out comfort in the first place. We set foot on this thing that we call the spiritual path because we recognize the emptiness of what passes for life, the illusory nature of it. In other words, the fact that it is completely dissatisfying. And yeah, it is not the peace of God, which is what you're seeking. Call it whatever you want to call it. That's what it is. Peace of mind is what we're all seeking. That's why we're on the spiritual path. This course just calls it, pretty much directly. You deserve nothing less. So if you're inclined to continue watching, excellent. And if you're rather disinclined, not a problem. You'll be back, whether it's this pixelated image on your screen that delivers the message or not. It will be your inner teacher, the Holy Spirit, that delivers the message, perhaps in a different outward form, and perhaps not even in this lifetime, because yes, you have the ability right here, right now, to cover your eyes back up and run and hide and do whatever you wish to do. You don't have to follow this course. There are many doors in spirituality. You can choose to open none of them, but eventually you'll be so sick and tired of doing life and never having peace that you'll find one of these doors at some point down the road and open it. Having opened it, You'll be curious to take that first step, even if it's very small. It's in fact quite large, and you'll begin to walk through that door. When, I don't know, maybe today, that's a constant invitation from the Holy Spirit, part of our mind, by the way, to each and every one of us. Hmm. Constant invitation. So while it may seem like awakening is a very tall order, you're not asked to do it all in the next 15 seconds, though that's not impossible. It's highly unlikely. Most of us get what appears to be a gradual path, in other words, a process, which can seem real frustrating sometimes. But as we bring our darkness to light, it's not always a pleasant, happy, wonderful walk in the park, in a manner of speaking. As we would say here in today's common parlance, it's not all rainbows and unicorns. It's not all a blissful tropical retreat in Costa Rica full of hot, sexy people and walks on the beach. Yeah, I mean, not like a walk on the beach in Costa Rica sounds bad. In fact, it sounds quite nice. However, spirituality involves doing the real work. Yep, well, a lot of people just disqualified themselves for now. You'll be back. They'll be back if they took off and you're still here. They'll return, maybe not in this lifetime. And it may be another door. Who cares? All doors open unto the same place, God. Why? God is the only reality. All roads lead to the peace of God because God is the only reality. All roads lead to the same place, all of them. There is no other place for them to go. By the way, there have not been very many spiritual traditions in this world to state flat out God is the only reality. All else is illusion. Which, by the way, does not make this path superior. Don't get that idea. It is not superior to any other path. One door is not superior to another door. In fact, this course is teaching us the exact opposite. It is teaching us, and we all deep down know, you do deep down know, that there is no separation. There is no separation of any kind. One door is no different from another. It's not separate. One door is not larger than another. They're not separate. There is no higher or lower, superior or inferior, taller or shorter, stronger or weaker. All comparative reality is nothing. There is no separation, period, and there never has been. What are we waking up to? That fact. So, what's asked of us? What the Course refers to as a little willingness. You can call it just a little faith, even just a little bit. We're invited to give everything in our experience to the Holy Spirit. He can use it for the purposes of healing the mind. Anything that we've made, we can give to the Holy Spirit for His purposes. Give it a different purpose. Rather than giving it the purpose of continued separation, give it over to the Holy Spirit for the purposes of healing the mind, of healing the separation. The only mistake that needs to be corrected. There is no separation of any kind. When you give your experience over to the Holy Spirit, He knows what to do with it. Do you? We're all invited to ask that. And when we discover that attempting to order, manipulate, and exhaust ourselves in a completely vain and futile effort to control all life forms. Does that sound like an exaggeration? It's not an exaggeration. We attempt to order, manipulate, and control what we deem to be reality. We attempt to go it alone as an ego, and what happens? We become instantly frustrated in many cases. Our best laid plans blow up in our faces more often than not right away. They may seem to succeed for a while, but if your goal is separation, you're going to become deeply dissatisfied with your supposed victory, aren't you? Yeah, it's never going to be enough. It won't be enough. You'll still be dissatisfied and want more. You won't be satisfied, in other words, with who, what, and where you are. You think you're something other than you are. You think you're an individual human being here in the world. So do all of us. That's why this conversation appears to be happening. So don't feel singled out. There's no separation of any kind. This applies to all of us. We appear to be here having this conversation because we have thought over and over again that we're an individual, separate from other individuals and separate from God, which we are not. God is the only reality. How can you be separate from the only reality, which, by the way, extends itself, Son of God, thought of God, extension of God, i.e., you? We're known by this, these names, in A Course in Miracles, by the way. Like extends like. Love extends itself. Of course it does. What else could it possibly extend? Not hatred. Love extends itself. God extends himself. You're the extension of God. This isn't you, by the way. The physical body is not who we are, which we all know. Now, here in the world, we adorn the body with all kinds of things, with fancy jewelry, maybe with clothes, and we give it food and water. We think that it's us, yet deep down we know there's more to it than simply meeting the needs of physical organism over here. Don't worry, if you've seen this video series more than once, you'll get these ideas over and over again. It's part of the course, which, yes, repeats itself. Because we don't know, actually, when a message that we may have heard 1,000 times is going to connect. We don't know when it's going to land. Might be today that all of a sudden something you've been pondering or been kind of unsure about makes perfect sense. And you get it. Many of you have had this experience. In fact, you've probably all had this experience more than once. You know what I'm talking about because you're closer than you think. I insist. Now, maybe you disagree. Well, that's cool. because at times it doesn't feel like we're close. Here's the deal with giving everything over to the Holy Spirit and giving Him your little willingness, even just a fraction of a second. Give whatever it is you're doing over to the Holy Spirit. Give your next phone call over to the Holy Spirit. Give your day to the Holy Spirit. Give your relationship to the Holy Spirit. Watch it change. Watch the meaning deepen. Now, try it. Give your job over to the Holy Spirit. Give the next 7 seconds over to the Holy Spirit. I don't know, whatever occurs to you. All that's asked of us is not to move mountains with the power of our thought. We're not asked to raise Lazarus from the tomb. We're not asked to walk on water, nor to take a fish and a loaf of bread and feed lots and lots of people, nor are we asked to rise up out of the tomb ourselves after 72 hours and walk around speaking with people we had a nice glass of wine with a few days prior. We're not asked to do that. We're asked to give a little faith, just a little bit, a little willingness to the Holy Spirit, to give even a fraction of our experience over to Him for the purposes of healing the mind. You'll never be asked to give more than you're capable of. Why? The Holy Spirit knows what you're capable of. If forgiving the ego itself and historical and current dictators seems too far to go in your mind right now, today, no problem. There will be something that you can forgive, and you will be presented with that. We all appear torn. The Course is addressing this supposedly split mind that's in conflict with itself, and someone in conflict with himself or herself is, well, not going to be able to go there fully all of the time. There'll be days where you appear to waver, and that's okay. Give whatever you can. The Holy Spirit has use for it. Even if it's only a fraction of a second, that is enough. In fact, because the Holy Spirit is total and whole and answers totally and wholly at all times, our inner teacher will respond to our slightest invitation totally and completely. In that sense, giving a fraction of a second is the same, exactly the same as giving an entire lifetime. There is no order of difficulty in miracles. One is just like another, and in that very first paragraph, chapter 1, section 1 of the text, Jesus tells us this, and we know it's true. All expressions of love are maximal, total, maximal. You give what you're able to give, it is maximal. Understand, too, that the Holy Spirit does not force. That would be most ineffective, wouldn't it, as a teaching method to wrest something from someone's grasp, to tear it away from you. Because then you'll think immediately that you're deprived, not a helpful state of mind. You'll think that someone, i.e., part of your mind, wrested something from you by force, and the conflict that you appear to be in will only be reinforced. That would hardly be a wise approach, hardly a kind approach. So that's not what the Holy Spirit does. He patiently waits for us to give everything over to Him. He doesn't take it by force. And we may be tempted to say, hey, just rip the veil off, will you? I mean, beam me up. Although it doesn't work that way either. Although who knows when awakening is going to come. We actually have to do the work ourselves. Now, we have profound and powerful guidance, help, assistance, and support on the path, starting with our inner teacher, the Holy Spirit, whom you're welcome to call whatever you want. It's part of our mind, so we're not appealing to an outside source. As we discover here in our study and practice of A Course in Miracles, there is nothing outside you. God is the only reality, remember, and you're the extension of God. Like extends like. So how can there be something outside you? When you feel resistance, it's the ego. Count on that. And of course, count on the resistance showing up a lot in many different guises, in many different fashions, more ways than one, and sometimes more thick and heavy than another time. Sometimes it may be just a seed of doubt or a temptation to lash out and blame or judge somebody. And sometimes it may feel like you're being punched in the face. I don't know. All resistance is of the ego. Give the ego to the Holy Spirit. Oh, bring the darkness to the light. That's what we're doing here. We're bringing the darkness of separation to the light of truth, right-mindedness. What happens to darkness in the presence of light? Exactly what darkness? It's as though it were completely insubstantial. It's as though it were never there. Exactly. So please join me. Well, if you're still watching to this point, that means the Holy Spirit has had a lot to say to you. We never know. And this is true of any spiritual discussion, any video, anything we read, any lecture that we attend, or workshop that we attend, or church service, or prayer service, or yoga practice, or meditation practice, or whatever that actually looks like in practice for you. We never know what's going to deeply resonate with us. When something does, it's the Holy Spirit. What you're looking at here is actually nothing at all. It is completely insubstantial. Call it a delivery mechanism. It's one that looks familiar to us. A dude, middle-aged dude with some white hair and stuff. I mean, nothing special about the form of the messenger. It's the message itself that matters. The outward form matters not at all. It's the content that matters. And you know what the Holy Spirit has had to say to you today. So I hope that it may inspire you to put it into practice, whatever that may look like. Along the way, questions are inevitable. It's spirituality after all, and they're more than welcome. So I invite all of your questions here. And if you have not yet subscribed, please do that. The prompt is over here. That icon in the corner of your screen is where you click to join us. All right. Because there's always something to talk about, and this course isn't going anywhere. We have several conversations each week, so I invite you to tune in for the next one. Again, subscribe if you have not, please. Thank you, and I will see you soon.